Greetings, my fellow Memphians. Today is January 8th, 2025. It's a very cold day, but I'm here today to provide a status update on the way things are going as far as the roofing claims process and the insurance industry right now. 2024 was a rough year for insurance claims. Today, I will provide you a list of insurance carriers ranked from A to F based on how they process their insurance claims. This is for roofs specifically, and this is in the Memphis area. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to give a brief explanation as to why I gave that insurance company the ranking that I gave them. So on the A tier, we have Erie Insurance, Travelers Insurance, and Alpha if you're in Mississippi, and then Shelter. And let's start with Erie. I have no complaints about Erie. Maybe they can do the turnaround time a little bit better from approval to the actual scope of work getting to the homeowner. But in general, if there is legitimate damage, a good storm date, they will cover the loss as they should and, help the customer out. Same thing with Travelers. Not only does Travelers do this, they do this in a timely fashion. So Travelers, if you file a claim, they might send out their adjuster within the same week. They usually see eye to eye with me on the damage. If there's legitimate wind damage, legitimate hail damage, they're like, yes, this is damaged. The homeowner needs a new roof. If it's not repairable, not available, these types of things. I could say the same thing for USAA. They are just a little bit slower. I don't know if it's because their market is mostly veterans. They are also more strict on what they release to the contractor, but honestly, that's fine with me. They release everything to the homeowner. The homeowner will then provide us with what we need, and that is completely okay. If you are in Mississippi, there is an insurance company called Alpha, A-L-F-A. They are fantastic. They process their claims very quickly, and they are very reasonable with their pricing and what they consider as storm damage. And then also Shelter. I do like the way Shelter processes their claims. They will send a field adjuster out there, and so will Travelers. The adjuster will then determine on the spot if the roof is repairable or not. They will go over the damages with me, and usually we see eye to eye. So I could say the same thing with Shelter and Travelers. The only thing about Shelters is they will do an ACV policy if you let them. So make sure that if you have a Shelter policy that you have an RCV policy and not ACV policy, unless you're okay with the ACV. But what ACV means is actual cash value, and what that means is you will get a prorated check when it's time to get your roof replaced. So let's say your roof costs $10,000. It's lived through 60% of its functional life. So they will then give you a check for 40% of the total cost of the job minus your deductible. All right, moving on to B tier. And some of these were actually hard to not put into the A tier, but there were just a few things that happened this year that makes me put them as like a B plus. They're still very good insurance companies. So the first on my B tier, which is the B pluses, I have Liberty Mutual and Safeco, which is the same company. I love working with Safeco. The only reason why they're not in the A tier for me is they are just kind of strict on what they would consider hail damage. So we did have a hailstorm in Collierville, and a lot of those claims ended up being done in 2024. And I did notice that for the Liberty Mutual and Safeco claims, their what's the word I'm looking for? Their requirement for what they call hail damage is a little bit more strict than some of the A tier companies. And that's okay because they've set a clear standard on what they would consider as hail damage, and then I can move accordingly. One of my biggest issues and why some of the lower tier companies are in their lower tier are inconsistency in the way they handle the claims. So Liberty Mutual, very consistent with what they consider as hail damage. It's a little bit stricter, but I do think when there's algae spatter, which is a sign of hail damage, and collateral damage to the gutters and the metal vents, stuff like that. That should be indication that the damage to the roof is from hail and not just standard granule loss. So that is my only gripe. But other than that, they are fantastic. Most of my claims, 99% of what we're dealing with in Memphis is wind damage. So they're pretty close to just being an A tier company. My other B plus, and you may not have heard of this company, they're not super popular. There is an insurance company called Lemonade, and I think everything they're completely online, I think. And what I like about them is they are simple on what is considered damage. I have not had many issues with them. The only issue I have with Lemonade is that they are slow to respond, and that is, to me, that's very important from a customer service point of view for the homeowner. If you have a loss to your home, it needs to be handled as soon as possible in case it gets worse. And with Lemonade, although they agreed with everything that I've sent them, it just took them a very long time to respond. And I could tell that their customer service is outsourced. So I don't know if it's just not being handled well internally, but very slow to respond to my emails, to my voicemails, all that kind of stuff. So what could have been handled in 1 week ended up dragging about 6 weeks, although they ultimately agreed with everything that I sent them. Next on my list is, this is a catch-all. This is most mortgage assigned insurance companies, and the ones that I see the most are Assurant, National General, Safe Auto. So sometimes when you purchase a home, you don't really pick your insurance company. Your mortgage just gives you one, and it usually goes to these companies that I just mentioned. Pretty good. They prove damage most of the time. If it's not much damage, but the shingle's discontinued, as long as I show them the information that they need, they usually end up doing what they're supposed to do. Again, the issue here is the timeliness of it. So they're hard to reach sometimes. You send an email out, it takes forever for them to get back. If they would resolve that issue, then they would be an A tier. But other than that, they're pretty good. Again, this is for roofing claims only. I don't know about the more specific policy details. That's not my field. But as far as how they process roofing claims, pretty well, just a little bit slow. And then now I have AAA. They're just, they're a little bit strict sometimes, but overall they're pretty good. I just had one recently. The adjuster was telling me, the independent adjuster was telling me that it might not go through, It ended up going through for wind and minor hail damage. And they weren't too slow either. They weren't too fast, they weren't too slow. So I give them a B. And then Mississippi Farm Bureau. So Mississippi Farm Bureau, I do like the way they handle their claims. They usually send a field adjuster out there who then makes the decision. And it's not like one person going to the manager who goes to the claim specialist. It's very simple. They send a local guy out there. He looks at the damage, or he lets Steep Assist look at the damage. They make a decision pretty quickly, and the turnaround time is fast. The only reason why they're on B tier is there's a lot of actual cash value policies, which I described earlier. And with that, I just feel like it should be made more clear to the homeowner what they have when they file the claim. And usually it's not said. Moving on to C tier, I actually have one that's going to surprise a lot of roofers, roofing contractors that are probably or might be watching this video. I don't know if you guys watch my stuff or not, but on my C tier, which a lot of people say they're an F, and I'm going to explain why I don't think they're an F and why they might be a good choice for your budget or your homeowner's insurance. So on my C tier, I have Allstate. And now people are going to look at me crazy, and I'm going to get a lot of criticism for this, but this is why I think Allstate is a C tier, which is it's not a failing grade. Allstate is a C tier in our market because they are pretty consistent about how they deal with the claim. So if you don't want to educate yourself on how to push the claim forward after they tell you no, then yes, you might hate Allstate. But if you're if you are consistently staying updated on new ways to actually deal with the insurance companies, Allstate's not that hard to work with. Here's how it goes with Allstate. They could have 10 damaged shingles. They could have 150 wind damaged shingles. Allstate will tell you to try and repair it. It's just protocol. Don't be mad at them. You show them a video of you trying to repair it, and they may or may not approve it. However, in most cases, they approve it if the video is done correctly or the photos are well documented. They usually approve it, and they also they usually listen to me when I tell them that the shingle is not compatible with the roofing system. So when you kind of add these things together, if the roof is discontinued and not compatible, there's no compatible shingle on the market, and you show them a repair attempt that it is not repairable, and you have a little bit of back and forth discussion, they usually end up doing it. It just takes time and some practice. So to me, they're a C because they're consistent in the way they act. And to me, that's a good thing because I know how to move based on my experience with them. What I don't like is inconsistencies. And now I have Farmers Insurance. Now, some people really love them and some people really hate them, even within my company. And that tells me that they're a C tier, because why do some of my people love them, some of them hate them? Because sometimes, some guys get the good adjuster pretty often, or the reasonable adjusters, or the more lenient adjusters, whatever you want to call them, and they get their claims approved, no problem, sometimes O&P added, and they love Farmers. And then I get some people, myself included, where you show the adjuster that the roof is not repairable. The roof is, there's no compatible shingle for the roof, and they will pull out every policy detail as to why it doesn't matter, even though Tennessee is a matching state, which is also a debated thing amongst insurance carriers. Even though we're one of those states, I have had Farmers adjuster fight tooth and nail about these issues and not approve the roof that should have been approved. So the reason why they're C tier is because you don't know what you're going to get when you file a claim, which, it doesn't help us serve the homeowner, because when they do that and I see a lot of damage on the roof, I can't say with conviction what is most likely going to happen next. So that gives you a C, 50-50. All right, now on to D tiers, and we're going to talk about one of these companies because they used to be a B, and maybe one used to be a C tier, and one these D tiers are actually a little bit crazy, because a lot of these companies, if you asked me 2 years ago about them, I would be pretty satisfied with them, but in 2024, a lot of things have changed. So on my D tier, I'm going to start with Progressive. The thing with Progressive is they're usually underwriting to a couple different insurance companies. If you have a Progressive homeowners policy, you might actually have a company called Homesite, or American Family, or ASI, which stands for American Strategic Insurance, I believe. They're on a D tier because this year they have become even slower at processing and handling the claims, responding to emails, things of that nature. That is a big thing for me, is how fast can you go from start to finish. And Progressive is a little bit slow. They're not the fastest, they're not the slowest, but they're a little bit on the slow end. Another thing about Progressive is they will nickel and dime the claim so much. So they will make you fight for each step of the claim. So I will have a claim that maybe has 20 to 30 damaged shingles, and they will write you a repair for 20 to 30 damaged shingles, which is fine. And then I will then show them that that shingle no longer exists, and then they will respond and say that we should just find the closest shingle and put it up there. Then I will send manufacturer's documents saying why we can't do that, and then they will say, well, we don't listen to manufacturer's documents. And then I will say, but the manufacturer's instructions are code. And then they will say, okay, send me the code. And then I will send them the code. And then they will say, we need a code officer to confirm if this is true. And like all this stuff, it just takes so much time. And it's just ridiculous. And for that, you get a D. Farm Bureau, Tennessee. This probably used to be a B tier. To me, they're a D tier. They have denied claims or partially approved claims that, you know, had lots of wind damage, were not repairable. And then they have worded their policies in a way where they pretty much owe you nothing. Even if they approve the full roof replacement, they are all prorated, and this is specifically for Tennessee. So Mississippi is not this way. Tennessee, all of their roofing policies are prorated policies. They're technically called ACV policies. So the older your roof gets, the less money that they will owe you for the roof replacement. And I've had some people have, you know, ACV policies and also a very high deductible. So maybe they did get approved for the full roof replacement, and then what costs $10,000, the homeowner's only receiving about, you know, $2,000 for it. So that puts you in a D tier. They're also very, very slow to respond to anything. That's just how it is with them. And then this was an A or B tier company that is now a D tier as of halfway through 2024. Nationwide Insurance, which is one of the big names. I used to be happy when I would get a Nationwide customer because they have usually been very reasonable on my wind damage claims. And then literally like halfway through 2024, they hit a nosedive and decided that they don't want to pay for this stuff anymore, which is just not fair for the homeowner. Why is there inconsistencies in the way we are practicing, you know, in the way we are processing the insurance claims? If there was just one uniform way, everything would be way easier. If you want to deny claims, deny claims. If you want to approve them, approve them. But don't have inconsistencies in the way you deal with your customer. I feel like the insurance companies have stopped dealing with homeowners as they were customers. The customer service is terrible. Nationwide, I'm fighting a claim right now with like 35 wind damage shingles. I've shown on video why it can't be repaired, and they just haven't responded to me in 20 days. So that gives you a D. And then F, maybe I'll get a cease and desist or something like that from some of these companies. But I only have one company on F, and that is State Farm. And I think everyone knows that they are very hard on approving roofs. But not only are they hard, they are slow to respond. They also take a very long time usually to actually send somebody out for the initial inspection. Sometimes they're fast, sometimes they're slow, and that is an inconsistency. Calling them, you know, you have to call the adjuster like, you know, 13 times before they actually respond to a voicemail. They're all overworked, so they're all busy. They cannot deal with their homeowners. They cannot deal with the contractors assisting the homeowners. They will deny the roof at first, and then you can show them that it's not repairable. They usually don't care anymore. They'll tell you, they will literally gaslight you. You will show them a failed repair attempt, and they will say on the phone, "Congratulations, it looks like you did a successful repair." And we're like, "No, it's not, because A, B, and C." And then you'll have to tell them, "Did you see at minute 3, second 23 that the shingle is creased? Do you agree that that crease is in fact a crease?" This is how they're dealing with their claims right now. If the shingle is discontinued, they won't listen to you. They will tell you, "We won't accept your report. We only do everything in-house." How is that fair? So they have an in-house shingle locator system, service, whatever it is. And when they send it off, I almost guarantee that every time they send off a shingle, they will give you back a shingle to use and say it is a reasonable match to the roof. And then you'll go back and say, I'm not arguing about matching. The manufacturer itself said not to mix this shingle. And then they will say, we do not accept that report. And these are facts. These aren't opinions. They're just denying facts sometimes. So that's not a way to do business. These homeowners are faithfully paying their premiums every year or every month to this company, so that when they're in their time of need, after they have suffered a legitimate loss, that they will be indemnified for that loss. And for you to take legitimate reports from third-party companies, both ITEL and NTS, I'm not just speaking for NTS, but ITEL as well. You will send them these reports, and they will say, we don't accept this report. We will go get our own report, and the report is almost always wrong. Then you got to take the shingle that they said on their report, put it on the roof, show them that it looks like crap, or go back to your point of that even though you gave us this shingle to use, it's not the right shingle based on these reports. The homeowner has provided these facts. You cannot deny facts presented by the homeowner. It is their responsibility to prove their loss and blah, blah, blah. You have to do all this jargon just to get anything done. And by the way, each time you have to say anything to them, you know that it's going to take 2 weeks for them just to get back with you. And when that happens, like, the homeowners are getting discouraged, they're giving up, they don't want to deal with it anymore. And guess who that benefits? The F-tier company.